There once was a forest that hummed when the sun went down. Not a scary hum, not a loud one, but a soft sound like the purr of a sleeping cat or a lullaby that only trees could sing. At first, people thought it was the wind playing tricks, but the sound came even on the stillest nights. It echoed gently through the leaves, buzzed low in the moss, and sometimes, just sometimes, you could feel it in your chest like the beat of a tiny second heart. Deep in this forest stood a tree that shimmered even in the dark. It didn't have green leaves like the others. Its bark looked like silver and its roots glowed faintly beneath the earth. Some called it the heart tree, some called it the moon's whisper. But most just whispered about it and stayed away, except one. Her name was Ellie. Ellie lived at the edge of the forest in a small wooden cottage with her grandpa, who told the best stories and made the best berry jam. She had a red scarf, a crooked smile, and a heart full of questions. One evening, as the sky turned peach orange and the birds tucked themselves into silence, Ellie sat with her grandpa by the fireplace. Crackle, pop, crackle, the jam bubbled on the stove, and the night gently pressed its nose against the window. "Do you hear it?" Grandpa asked. Ellie tilted her head. At first, just silence. But then yes, a low hum, gentle, like singing through a cup. "What is that?" she whispered. "The forest," he said. "It hums louder when it remembers something." "Remembers what?" "Stories. Kindness. Secrets. Maybe." "You?" Ellie blinked. "Me, only one way to find out." Grandpa smiled, his eyes twinkling like he knew something but wouldn't say. The next morning, Ellie woke with the hum still in her ears. She packed her red scarf, a drawing of a bunny with sunglasses, and one perfect jam sandwich. She stepped out the door with no map, just her feet and a hunch. The forest greeted her not with roars but with rustles, like it had been expecting her. Birds didn't flee, they watched. Flowers turned their heads. The moss under her shoes felt like stepping on cake. She passed a stump shaped like a throne, walked under a branch that bent low like a bow, and followed the trail of humming louder and louder until she saw it, the heart tree, blowing softly like it was lit from inside. She stepped closer, breath shallow. A single leaf drifted down and landed on her hand. It sparkled. She smiled. "Hello," she whispered. The tree did not speak, not yet, but the ground beneath her feet hummed deeper. Something alive, something waiting. Ellie sat down in front of the tree and traced its roots with her fingers. They were warm, not like sunshine warm, but warm like cocoa or hugs. She leaned her ear to the bark and closed her eyes. That's when she heard it, not just a hum but a whisper inside the hum. "Welcome," Elliot said. She opened her eyes wide. "You can talk," she gasped. "When someone truly listens," the heart tree replied, its voice soft as feathers falling. Ellie smiled. "I'm listening now." "Good," said the tree. "Then let me show you something." With that, the bark rippled like water. Small round hole opened, glowing gently, and out peeked a creature no bigger than a teacup. It had fur like dandelions, ears like spoons, and eyes like polished buttons. "This is a whimsy," said the tree. "They come when memories are strong." The whimsy waddled forward and handed Ellie a pinnacone that glowed softly, just like the tree. "Close your eyes," it squeaked. She did. When she opened them, the pinnacone had opened too, and from inside came a swirl of golden light. It floated in the air and painted a picture above their heads, a picture made of memory. A tiny Ellie running through the forest laughing, Grandpa chasing her pretending to be a bear, both of them falling in the leaves. "That's me," she whispered. "It's your kindness," said the tree. "You gave it to the forest. Now it gives it back." Ellie sat there in awe. The whimsy climbed into her lap, squeaked once, and fell asleep like a sleepy kitten. The heart tree spoke again. Every kind word, every laugh, every hug. They live here, under the moss, between the roots. That's why the forest hums. It's not just sound, it's memory. Ellie brushed the whimsy's fluff with one finger. "So when people forget to be kind, does the humming stop?" The tree was silent for a long moment. "Sometimes," it said, "but the forest always waits." It always hopes, she nodded slowly. Then I'll always be kind. You already are, said the tree. The sun moved across the sky, shadows danced. A bird landed gently on the tree and joined the hum with a note of its own. Ellie looked around and saw the whole forest breathing like it was one big creature, living, listening, loving. I have to go home, she said softly. Grandpa will worry. He knows, said the tree. He always did. Ellie looked confused. What do you mean? But the tree only rustled its leaves, and from behind one, another pinnacone dropped. This one had a ribbon. For Grandpa, said the whimsy. Now awake and grinning, Ellie tucked it in her pocket, gave the tree one last pat, and stood up. Goodbye, she whispered. Goodbye, the tree replied. But not forever. The walk home felt different. The path glowed faintly, like breadcrumbs of light had been scattered just for her. The wind felt warmer. The birds chirped softer. When Ellie stepped out of the trees and saw her cottage again, she noticed something strange. Grandpa was already outside, sitting on the porch, holding a mug of tea like he'd known exactly when she'd return. You found it, he said. You knew about the heart tree? Ellie asked, eyes wide. Grandpa chuckled. Not everyone forgets the forest, you know. Did it ever talk to you? She asked. He looked up at the sky. Once, long ago, when I was just about your age. Ellie sat beside him and pulled the pinnacone from her pocket. This is for you, she said. He took it gently, turning it in his hands, ribbon and all. He said softly, you must have been kind. Ellie smiled. I tried. Grandpa looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. That's all. The forest asks. That night, Ellie curled into bed. The hum still echoed in her ears, not just in her ears, in her chest, in her fingers, in her dreams. When she closed her eyes, she saw roots and wings and stars. And just before sleep took her, she thought she heard the whimsy's tiny giggle coming from under her bed. The next morning, the forest was quiet, not silent, just calm, like it was resting. Like it was full. Ellie knew she'd go back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but the heart tree was waiting. The forest always waits. Grandpa made pancakes and didn't say much, but when Ellie looked at him, he gave her a wink. And that was enough, because now they both knew the secret. They were part of something bigger, something older, something beautiful, something that hummed. And so, little one, if ever you're near a tree and you think you hear a song, maybe it's not your imagination. Maybe the forest remembers you too. Maybe it's waiting for your kindness. Just listen. Just be gentle. Just be you. And if you like this story, Grandpa says there are many more to come. Stories full of magic, whispers, and wonder. So if you want to hear what the forest says next, don't forget to subscribe to Grandpa Spelltales. We'll be waiting by the fire.